welcome back to my crafty space. In today's video, I'm going to be working on my second Story Kit Crush project using a more current story kit from Ali Edwards. Today we're working with the Teach Story Kit, and when I went back to look at the stories that I had planned out, I believe back in September, I think is when this kit was, well, at least when I got this kit into my hands. I want to say it was September or maybe even August. When I had planned out a lot of these projects, some of them were to do with current events, so things that we were currently going through. Some of them were to do with things in the past, like the story I'm going to work on today. Now, I did actually go back and change up some of the layout ideas that I had originally. If you have not checked out my story planning video for this particular kit, I'll be sure to leave that down in the post with this video. That way you can check it out if you want to and get even more ideas for how to use this story kit to tell your stories. I went back and I actually redesigned a few of the pages, including this one here. This one is going to be telling the story about while I was teaching my daughter and her friend homeschool. So I homeschooled her through the first year, well, the first fall, spring season, right, of the pandemic for kindergarten. So while I was teaching her as a homeschool teacher, what did I actually learn about myself? And I've told a lot of stories about this time in our life because this was something that was really significant in our lives. Like, I never expected to be a homeschool mom. I never expected that my daughter would not be able to socialize with friends in the way that I did growing up. And it just took on this really big part of our life. So I have told many a story about homeschooling, and I'm sure I am not done telling stories about homeschooling. They will probably still crop up throughout the years. This one in particular, like I said, I'm going to focus mostly on myself and the things that I learned about myself through teaching her. The idea for this was totally inspired by the journaling card here that says, while we teach, we learn, and there's nothing more true than that. And then I also have to teach is to learn twice, which seem to go kind of together. They were a very similar theme. Now, I wanted to do something where I have part of this is out of the page protector and part of it's going to be in a divided page protector. For my journaling, I went ahead and printed everything out onto this wonky grid-like card here. And my font is really super small because I found that I actually had quite a lot to say, which is funny. That happens to me a lot. Does that happen to you guys too? That definitely happens to me all the time. For my title piece, I'm going to use this book right here. I like the green and tying in all of the green throughout this layout, and then a tiny phrase sticker on top. In fact, I can probably just do that now. Like, I could say, trust the process, expanding horizons, try new things. That's definitely what, maybe I'll do that one. Doing the most, or just do your best. That could have been one too. So maybe I'll do this try new things here as my title piece. Some of this I might just talk through while I put it together. I am going to fussy cut out some of the journaling cards, so that I'm going to skip over. So you guys do not have to watch me do that, just because it takes some time. But so I'm like, if I put this here in the middle of the book. The plastic book here was part of an add-on set of books that you could get with this kit. And I picked them up. I used most of them on one layout to talk about the books that I had been reading throughout the course of the year. So most of them were used up. I just had a couple of them left over. I like the way that that looks. This one, this says, teaching isn't easy, but it's worth it, is another sentiment that to me is so true of this time. Like, I talk about it in the journaling, which I'll read to you guys here before we finish up this video. But one of the things I talk about is how when I was younger, I wanted to be a school teacher, and I specifically wanted to teach elementary education. And as a teenager, I worked at a summer camp where I was in charge of groups of 8th graders. So every week I'd get a new group of 8th graders for the entire summer, and I hated it. Like, I hated it so much. That it was kind of it was an eye-opening experience to show me that maybe teaching was not what I was meant to do, at least not teaching children. And as an elementary educator, you are certified to teach from K through 8. And I know a lot of times you get put in with middle schoolers because it's just, you know, that's a lot of times the starting in. And so for me, just not really enjoying working with that age group, I figured that it was probably just not for me. And then when I taught my own kids, you know, it's kind of the same. It was the same reinforcement that I had made the right decision to not be an elementary school teacher. I could definitely see myself being like, I think I could have been a high school teacher. I definitely could probably have been a college professor, but not anything earlier than that. I mostly find that I like teaching adults. You know, I like when there is that maturity in place. Okay, so we've got the photo here is punched. So these are just going to go inside of the page protector. I've got the chipboard on there, the title on here. The rest of that's just going to be what it is. And this is a picture of Izzy. We were doing numbers, and they had to add these little pumpkins on top of their number cards to count the right number, just to help them learn how numbers look and associating them with how much that really is. So then the photo that's outside of the page protector is one of me sitting at the front of our home classroom, which was such a fun, creative, like joyful place to be in, except for when the kids did not want to learn. Then it was not so joyful. But the colors and just all of the fun stuff in this space made it really a fun place to be. Okay, so what I'm going to do here for this one I'm going to show you, at least I'll get it started here. Let me grab my, grab my little cutter here. So this one, I'm going to cut these words into strips. So they become almost like little phrase stickers, right? That was kind of my thought. So let me just chop these. Oop, that was a little close. Oh, well. And this is something I like to do with cards like this because it allows me to still use all of my journaling cards, but to turn it into more of a embellishment, so to say. Which is something I always suggest, right? Or something I would like to encourage you to think about is, okay, if you've got a bunch of cards in your stash, how can you turn them into something you can embellish your page with instead of using it, you know, as a journaling card or as a filler card? I find a lot of times with my filler cards, I like to do stuff like this where, to teach is to learn twice. Anyway, to do stuff like this where I can use them on a photo or whatnot. Okay, so then I'm going to cut these down into smaller pieces. So to teach, this one I'll just leave together. It says is to, I'll just leave that together. To teach is to, I could cut them apart just to have them, to have all of the words separated. To teach is to learn twice. Okay, so there's that. I'm even going to think if I want to keep the word twice on there or if I just want it to say to teach is to learn. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do next. Next, I'm going to take this card to the side and I'm going to fussy cut the words out. Now, when I fussy cut titles like this, Let me just kind of get these apart first. I like to keep a little bit of that background color around it, so it's almost got like a color frame. And the other thing that I'll do, maybe I'll do this, the word we here. I'll show you how I do the word we, and then I'll take the rest over to the side. So what I'm going to do is cut around the E here, right? These three little, whatever they call them, whatever you might call them, little jet outs. Okay, and then I'm going to skip over the in-between section for where the W and the E meet, right? And I'm going to cut around the W, like so. Okay, then what I might do for this one, and I will, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up to just a little bit here on the bottom. So it's like a little, okay, so that it gives me some definition in between the two letters. So I'm just gonna kind of cut to the middle so they're still attached, but there's a little bit of separation between them. I'm gonna do the same thing from the top, leaving them attached in the middle. I'll see if I can bring this up closer to the camera so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to go ahead and round that out a little bit better. Okay, so let me see if I can put this maybe on the back of this and show you. Yeah. Okay, so if I bring this up here, you can kind of see how there's a little bit of attachment between the W and the E, but then I cut out some slits in between there just to separate the two letters. So that is what I'm going to do for all of these words. And then I'm going to go off screen and do that. And then I'll come back and we'll get the rest of this photo embellished and finish up the layout. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so now I have got them all cut out and ready to adhere. Whoop, we are stuck together. Okay, so we've got while we, I'm thinking I'm going to put these up here. So while we teach, we learn. I might move them down a little bit too. And then I've got this to teach is to, maybe I will keep these, the whole thing, to learn twice. Whoop. So it's going to do something like that. And then maybe, let me see if I've got any puffy heart stickers. Something. Oh, I do. And I've got some in a good color scheme. So I'm thinking maybe I'll add one of those up there just to draw attention to the fact that there is text here on the page. So I'm going to get a scrap piece of paper here. And then let's go ahead and adhere these down. So I think I will bring them down. Actually, maybe I should start. I think I'll start with these. That way we know where to position everything. Okay, so we'll go. I should probably put this straight so I can make sure I'm going straight enough. I'm going to do my best to put them on here like evenly and what do I want to say, like straight and even, but also if they are not straight and even, that's okay too, because I'm okay with it having a little bit of a should probably make sure that this is somewhat even though and centered. I don't mind if it has a little bit of like a eclectic feel to it. That's fine with me. Okay, I think that'll be good. So add some adhesive. I don't want it on the edges. Okay. So that can go here. Do teach. Okay. And 2. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of this adhered down. And then I'll put on some music or something. And then we'll come back over here and finish out the video with reading the journaling for this story. So let's go ahead and speed you guys up here a little bit. All right, friends, well, that completes my layout for today. So the last thing I'm gonna have to do when I actually go to put this in my album is just to stick these 3 pieces down into a page protector. And then that will be that. This layout will be totally and 100% complete. Let's go ahead and read the journaling for this one. So this has the Try New Things as the title piece, and here is what I wrote. When I was younger, I dreamed of being a teacher. I loved putting together school lessons to teach my younger siblings, teaching them everything from advanced, for them, math, to the French language. I fancied myself a wonderful teacher and thought it would be, for sure, the path for me. That was until I was responsible for a group of 8th graders at summer camp. That was an eye-opener, showing me that while I loved to learn and share what I learned with others, teaching young kids may not really be my thing. During the COVID pandemic, Isabella was supposed to start kindergarten, and Aaron and I had to make some tough decisions for our family. Rather than send Izzy to public school, we chose to have me homeschool her. I romanced the idea, did all of the research, and got all of the books for all of the subjects, offered to teach the neighbor boy too, and started to wonder if I might want to do this for always, not for just this year. Flash forward 6 months later, and I had learned quite a bit about myself. I learned that I love the planning process of teaching. I love coming up with our schedule, figuring out our topics, and dreaming of how much the kids would love their lessons. I learned that I don't enjoy much beyond that. I learned that sometimes all I can do is my best. I learned that the line between teacher and mom is so hard for kids to understand. I learned that I am not a very patient person. I learned that homeschooling is not my passion, and I would rather have my daughter taught by someone whose passion it is. I learned that I am very happy I decided to change the course of my career all those years ago. So there we go. Teaching isn't easy, but it's worth it, and we definitely learn a lot about ourselves through the process. All right, friends, that's going to be it for me for today, and this is the last of the new Story Kit Crush projects. Next week, I'm going to be working on projects using the Breathe Story Kit from Ali Edwards, which is one that was released, I believe, back in 2019, so it's a couple years old at this point. This Friday, be sure to keep an eye out for our next Friday with Friends episode. I'm so excited to share another community member with you, and I hope you've been enjoying that series. Until then, I hope you have an awesome week this week, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, friends.